I've been a mechanic for the last 2.5 decades, and as a mechanic, your bread and butter, your easy stuff is replacing starter motors, batteries, alternators, all that kind of stuff is the easy stuff. So when it comes to jumping a car, I know what I'm doing because I've seen a lot of this. I've had a number of times where I go to help somebody with their car and I ask them, you know, well, what's the deal? Well, the car won't start. Did you try jumping it? Yeah. And it doesn't work for them, but it works for me. I have the power. So here's how you jump start a car. You hook it up in the right order and it goes like this. It's easy to remember. Red to dead, red to donor, black to block, black to blingy, run donor 2 minutes, start dead car, and then charge your battery fully when you can. Anytime that there's not a clean surface area or you don't have a lot of electron flow, you're not going to start because you don't have the amps that you need. Amps are the flow, that New York marathon of people running down the street. If you got a skinny little doorway that you're trying to get them through, meaning the little negative terminal that goes to the body mount or goes to the computer body ground, it's not going to work. You want a direct connection to the block. So here's my take or my twist, you know, as being a mechanic on how to do this. This is a starter motor, this is a battery, and these are jumper cables. What I'm going to do is I'm going to complete the circuit to get the starter moving by hooking the jumper cables to the starter. And mind you, this is exactly how the starter motor gets its ground, through a bolt into the engine block. And then there's a heavy gauge wire that goes from the negative terminal to the engine block. Say we put on the negative first, and then we come in with the positive. I've got this teeny tiny little target and everything's a minefield right now. Anywhere I touch, you know, on the engine block or anything, it's a minefield. If we have this disconnected, then everything's okay. I get onto this, you know, it's not as picky. And now I've got the cable in place and I can take the negative and put it on and I've got a big open target. You see the difference? And that's why we do red to dead. So here's what we do. We do red to dead and red to donor, and this basically protects us from hooking stuff up wrong and sparking on something that we didn't mean to. Just like when you do any service on a car, you take off the negative battery first. If you touch the positive, say your wrench is taking this off and you touch the body and the body's hooked to ground, spark, you know, it shorts to ground and it's bad. You know, you get that heat that comes from resistance. They love clean surface areas, you know, the electrons, and if they don't get those, they throw a fit, and that fit looks like heat and burn marks. They burn stuff. Little pyromaniac trick-or-treater types. So here's the deal. If we do the red first, and we hook to the dead battery because there's no electron flow, nothing's going to spark. That's safe. Here you go. So let's show you the proper way to jump this car. I know that there have been a lot of videos on this, but as a mechanic that's swapped a lot of engines and done a lot of wire harnesses, let me show you what really gets the job done when it comes to jump starting a car. Dead vehicle. I know it's dead because I turned the lights on and I made it dead. And now when I try to start the car, you get this. There's just nothing there. It's totally dead. Dead. Donor. So the first thing that we do in terms of connections is red on dead. Now you can remember 1 and 3 are on the dead car, and it's odd to have a dead battery. Normally your car starts, but something happened, it's odd. So 1 and 3 are always on the dead car, or the odd car. Step 1, red on dead. Step 2, red on donor. Verify red's red. That's positive. Positive's the important part. Step number 3, 3 is an odd number. This is our odd car, our dead car. We're going to do black on block. Black on block because that's where your starter motor's going to ground to. We want all the power from the donor vehicle to go directly as much as possible to that starter motor. That's where all the high amperage draw is. So I can't go directly to the block, there's too much in the way, but I can do to a bracket, and the bracket goes to the block, so in essence, black on block. And the last connection we'll make is black on donor, or negative to donor. Now obviously in the background you hear the diesel running. It's our donor vehicle, and this is our dead vehicle. Now what's happening is the donor vehicle's charging system is sending power not only from the battery, but it's being, you know, overflowed. We're running at 14.5 volts instead of just 12 or 13 that we would just sitting there. So our voltage is higher. That's pressure. That pressure is pushing amps through the cable into this battery, and it's filling this battery up. We're using heavy duty cables, and we've got good connections. We're connected to the engine block, or a bracket to the engine block, so that we get the best effect. when we go to start it, but we also have better flow just generally through the system. So in my best Julia Child's voice, I'm going to say, allow to cook for 2 minutes or 3 minutes. And that way we'll have power in this battery ready to go, but then we'll also have power coming through the cables. That's double power. Now, our battery has been allowed to cook for 2 minutes. It's time for starting. By leaving a battery in a partial state of charge or partial state of discharge, you leave it susceptible to sulfation, which basically means a bunch of white booger stuff grows on the inside of it. So what I like to do with mine is as soon as possible, I'll fully charge it with an automatic charger that'll top it off. If you have something that can desulfate a battery, that's not a bad thing to do either. I'd like to know, what did you guys learn from this video? If there's anything that you learned, be sure to leave it in the comments below. I really appreciate you guys watching my videos. This took a lot of work, even for a simple topic like this. I'd appreciate it if you clicked the thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed already, what are you waiting for? I got a bunch more good stuff to come. Be sure to click the subscribe button. Is there somebody that you know that could use this information? Maybe it's somebody in your family or one of your friends or something. Share the video with them. The more that everybody knows, the better off we all are. Now what about taking it off when you're done? This is kind of a helpful setup because it's already here and it's very simple. So if we want to put the negative on last, we just go backwards. So we pull the negative off first, and the reason why we do that is the same thing. If I pull this off and set it on something anywhere, it can arc and spark and make a mess. So I'd carefully put that back on, or I could set it aside. If you're careful, it doesn't matter, like I say. But if you want to play it safe, take the negative off first. Once the negative is off, I can touch this anywhere on the starter and it doesn't do anything. Anywhere on the vehicle, the body, it doesn't matter. So red to dead goes on first. Now our minefield is neutralized. We can put on the negative, and when we go to take them off, same thing. Take the negative off first and then the positive, it doesn't matter. Do you want to see what it looks like if you do it wrong? I thought you might. Alright, so we're going to take it off in the wrong order, and I'm going to demonstrate. So we've got this off. Now if I were to touch this right to the starter, it would make a big mess. We're going to use a little wire so the little wire burns up quickly like a fuse and kind of protects it. I mean, it's still kind of scary and everything, but say if I were to set this down, take it off and put it in the wrong place, that'd be bad. So you want to make sure to take the positive one off last. So I'll carefully put it back on. Now watch what happens. I take the negative off, our minefield is disabled, and then I can do this, and everything's kosher.